Tonight, the judiciary is on trial. Stunning revelations of corruption have roped in even its topmost ranks.
The image of a dignified, beyond reproach Supreme Court is crumbling under the weight of graft allegations that are now tugging and pulling at Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu.
She is the latest high-ranking public officer to be caught in the DPP's net, and Nuruddin Haji says he's just getting started. He says he will wage an aggressive war on all forms of corruption.
We have full team coverage tonight. Zainab Ismail is live for us from the High Court in Milimani. Leila Mohammed is at the Supreme Court, and Trevor Ombija is here with us in studio. Our wall-to-wall coverage of the day's events begins now.
So we start off with what's been happening, the drama today. Philomena Mwilu was this evening released on a 5 million shillings personal bond by the Anti-Corruption Court and directed to appear in court tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. alongside her co-accused Stanley Muluvi.
Judge Lawrence Mugambi said the order was temporary and was only meant to secure her court attendance tomorrow.
Mwilu faces a raft of allegations including abuse of office and tax evasion charges.
She was represented by Senior Counsel James Orengo and John Haminwa, among others.
DCJ Mwilu is also accused of obtaining execution of a security belonging to Imperial Bank Limited by false pretense, abusing her office for personal gain, and accepting a gift in the form of money in circumstances which undermined public confidence in the integrity of her office.
The court orders that pending any further proceedings that will continue tomorrow, each accused shall be released on executing a personal bond of Kenya shillings 5 million. They are further ordered to appear before this court tomorrow without fail at 9 a.m. These terms are temporarily to secure their appearance tomorrow, and after tomorrow's proceedings, the court shall, if necessary, impose such further conditions as it shall deem necessary.
Zainab Ismail joins us live from the High Court in Milimani. Zainab, what specific charges is the Deputy Chief Justice facing?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Olive and Dennis from the studio here at the Milimani Law Courts. Now, it seems that the war on graft, the protracted war on graft, has been shifted to the judiciary. Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu was today whisked from the Supreme Court, was taken to the DC headquarters in Kiambu for investigations, and then arraigned here at the Anti-Corruption Court in front of Chief Magistrate Lawrence Mugambi at the Milimani Law Courts to answer to a raft of allegations which include abuse of office, failure to pay taxes, also taking a look at bribery. But most notable of that was the fact that Philomena Mwilu, according to the charge sheet that we've seen, she will be answering to charges which include, or rather linked to the collapse of linked to the collapsed Imperial Bank. She is said to have received about 12 million shillings without proper paperwork. So definitely quite interesting, as the case will be mentioned tomorrow here at 9 a.m. in the morning. Now, as I said earlier on in the afternoon, it's been quite an interesting day. According to my colleague Mel Miendo, who's been following up on the reports, the DCI arrested Philomena Mwilu at the Supreme Court immediately after a meeting by the Judicial Service Commission, which was also looking into an ongoing probe on allegations of bribery on the same Imperial case. Now, this is said to have happened between August and October 2013, and she tells us that this is a protracted war the DPP has taken on, saying that it is a war on graft that now will be on a mission on seeking evidence to bring all the culprits to book. Let's listen into that report.
Tuesday, 28th August 2018, shortly before 2 p.m, a convoy of vehicles making its way to the DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road. Deputy President of the Supreme Court, Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, arrested and escorted by the DCI himself, George Kinoti. It did not come as a surprise to the judiciary. Chief Justice David Maraga had been on Tuesday afternoon informed by DPP Nuruddin Haji of the arrest.
I informed the Chief Justice David Maraga of my decision to grant consent for the arrest and prosecution of the Deputy Chief Justice. Ni heshima kwake yeye kama jaji mkuu, lakini si kwenda kumuomba, nilikwenda kumfahamisha.
The DCJ was questioned by detectives at DCI headquarters for close to 3 hours on Tuesday afternoon, with both the DCI and DPP present. DPP Haji confirmed that the DCJ had been charged with 3 counts.
Lady Justice Mwilu abused her office for personal gain, accepted a gift in the form of money in circumstances which undermined public confidence in the integrity of her office.
Mwilu's arrest is of significance, this being the first time the DPP has appeared publicly to account for ongoing graft cases and give detail of an arrest. This, according to Haji, is in line with a commitment to fight corruption and uphold the rule of law.
There can be no justice if lawyers, prosecutors, magistrates, judges and investigators who are court officials use their position to enrich themselves at the expense of the Kenyan people.
The arrest of Chief Justice David Maraga's deputy comes at a time when the Chief Justice himself has been vocal and firm about his commitment to the fight against graft. The axe has now fallen right at his backyard.
Nikipata ushahidi ati judge fulani amepewa hongo au magistrate fulani amepewa hongo, Judicial Service Commission will be too happy to deal with those cases and to attend.
This is the very first time in Kenyan history that a Deputy Chief Justice has been arrested. Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu came into office in October 2016. In the same year, in December, is when Imperial Bank collapsed. As DPP Nurdin Haji says, this is the first of many prosecutions that are high profile that Kenyans can expect. Mel Miendo, NTV at the DCI headquarters, Nairobi.
All right, that was a report by Mel Miendo, who's been following up the report from the time that the Deputy Chief Justice was arrested at the Supreme Court, taken to the DCI, and later arraigned in court. Now, tomorrow, we'll be bringing you all the details of that case, which will be mentioned in front of Chief Magistrate Lawrence Mugambi at the Anti-Corruption Court in Milimani from 9 a.m. You do not want to miss that. All the details, including the allegations that are facing the Deputy Chief Justice. Back to you, Olive and Dennis.
Thank you, Zainab Ismail from Milimani Law Courts. It's not the first time that questions touching on the integrity and personal character of the Deputy Chief Justice have been raised.
During her vetting for the position in 2016, DCJ Philomena Mwilu fought Kandara MP Alice Wahome's claims that she had taken a bribe to rule against her in an election petition and that she was biased against women.
Charity Mwangi revisits the session and how she responded to the questions asked of her.
I have been acquitted by the vetting board. The Judicial Service Commission has considered this, and I am praying that this can finally come to an end and give me peace.
Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu had set the tone early. From the onset, she carved the image of a woman beyond reproach. During her vetting for the position in 2016, she painted the picture of a squeaky clean career in public service spanning over 32 years. Never shy to boldly speak out against graft, this was her response when asked about the cartels was said to operate freely within the corridors of justice.
I am terribly committed to the transformation agenda. I was not forced to do this. I will never be forced. I started it long before.
But even then, she had to face questions about her conduct as a judge. Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome had accused her of being biased when it came to women.
Mara nyingi ametukana wakina mama. Tumefika kwa mahakama yake akapeleka wakina mama na makesi ya wakina mama vibaya. Siamini ya kwamba akipewa kesi ya wakina mama atamalizia vizuri kulingana na vile katiba imewekwa.
I do not know which part of me looks male. I am very feminine. I am a woman. And I know the challenges that women face. I have supported the woman's cause in my way. But the law is blind to gender.
The Kandara MP had wanted Mwilu to excuse herself from the bench hearing an election petition she filed in 2008. She claimed the judge was biased. She also claimed she had received a bribe to rule against her in the election petition.
irrespective of your personal views, in court, I deal with the business that takes me to court. I don't care who appears before me.
Justice Mwilu, however, waved away the accusation against her, saying the legislator was unhappy about a previous case before her where the MP lost. The DCJ also dismissed the graft claims against her.
Please do your private check. Nobody would attempt to come to bribe me. Nobody would attempt. Do your background check. No one will attempt to bribe me. And those who know me know what I'm saying.
In 2017, Derek Ngumu, the executive director of the Angaza Empowerment Network, filed a petition with the Judicial Service Commission seeking the investigation and removal from office of the Deputy Chief Justice and Supreme Court Judge Justice Isaac Lenaola over their conduct in the presidential election petition. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
It's worth taking note that the Kandara Member of Parliament Alice Wahome will be joining Ken Mijungu on sidebar this night at 10 p.m.
Yes.
Let's now link up with Leila Mohammed, who is live for us from the Supreme Court.
Leila, it's not the first time the judiciary has been plagued by graft allegations now, is it?
Indeed, history has a way of repeating itself, Dennis, and for sure this is not the first case where we are seeing justice failing to prevail in the corridors of justice, where members of the bench are being accused of being compromised and thus allowing one party that appears before them to be able to win cases and therefore leaving justice to the wayside. So I was able to dig into history and found out the following about various cases, from the latest of Philip Tunoi to all the way in 2003 when Justice Aaron Ringera was able to come up with a list of 23 Court of Appeal judges, 73 High Court judges and many more magistrates whom he has said were compromised or were indisciplined in court and had given the recommendation that they step aside and be dismissed from office. Take a look.
As late as July 2018, sacked High Court Judge Joseph Mutava was seeking to get back to the corridors of justice after being removed from office on allegations that he had been compromised in a case involving businessman Kamlesh Patni. Justice Mutava, in a judicial review in 2012, is said to have issued orders prohibiting the continued prosecution of Patni over the infamous Golden Bag affair. The reasons he gave for the order was that Patni's right to trial within a reasonable time had been violated. Months to his retirement, former Supreme Court Judge Philip Tunoi found himself embroiled in a legal battle where he was accused of receiving a 200 million shillings bribe from former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero in a poll petition case where the current governor of Kiambu, who was a candidate for the Nairobi gubernatorial seat in 2013, was challenging Kidero's win. The tribunal investigating the matter had to abandon the probe midway as Tunoi had already retired from office, and thus the Sharad Rao-led team could no longer legally pursue the matter. Before a team could investigate him, Justice Tunoi was suspended from official duty to pave way for investigations against him. More than a decade before the senior judicial officers were accused of corruption, Justice Aaron Ringera had become the enemy within when he stated that more than 20 judicial officers should be sent home for engaging in corrupt activity. The then Chief Justice Evan Gisheru had formed a committee referred as the Ringera Committee that identified 23 judges and 73 magistrates and accused them of corruption, misbehavior and unethical conduct. Justices Philip Waki and Moijo Olekeiwa defended themselves against the accusers, and 5 more chose this path, and while some of them were cleared off the charges, Justices Tom Baluto and Vitalis Juma failed the integrity test, and despite their efforts to clear their names and get back to office, they were dismissed from office. Lady Justice Roslyn Nambuye, who had also been accused, had her name removed from the tribunal probe by President Kibaki through a gazette notice. Before her name was removed, she had filed a case at the Court of Appeal to stop the hearings. Corruption has managed to spread its tentacles in many parts of Kenyan society, and the judiciary has unfortunately not been left behind, with some senior judicial officers being accused of being compromised in many cases. And with the new DPP insisting that justice has to be seen to be done and not just to be heard to be done, the judiciary will have to go back to the drawing table to ensure that the credibility of their officers is up to standard. Leila Mohammed, NTV, Nairobi.
Well, there was Nancy Baraza, who was the first holder of the post of the Deputy Chief Justice under the new constitution that Kenyans promulgated in 2010, and then came Kalpana Rawal, and then now Philomena Mwilu is the current DCJ. And all these three ladies have one thing in common: they are all finding themselves in murky waters in office. And our very own Silas Sopolo has gone back into the books of history again to look at the post of the DCJ and the characteristics that have befallen the holders of this post and the powers that are playing in this particular position, and what could be going wrong in the office of the Deputy Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya.
The arrest of Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu may have come as a surprise to many, but to a keen observer of the ongoings at the Apex Court, the arrest of Mwilu, even as drastic as it now appears, may not have been a surprise, especially for the holder of the office of the Deputy Chief Justice. The tenures of her predecessors, Kalpana Rawal and Nancy Baraza, were not without controversies. Perhaps the reason for their short stint at the helm of the country's top court. Baraza, the first holder of the seat, quit her job as Deputy Chief Justice in October 2012 in the middle of a case she had lodged at the Supreme Court. She had gone to appeal against a tribunal that had found her guilty of misconduct. The then DCJ had filed the case after tribunal found her conduct wanting in the manner she handled village market guard Rebecca Kerubo in December 2011. She would later tell NTV in an interview that hours were orchestrated by people she claims were interested in her job.
I did not leave the judiciary bitter, although I was very traumatized. I keep saying, one day when I have recovered, I will revisit my case. Just go through the process that I went through. Pull out all these confidential documents and just try to understand.
A 7-member tribunal set up to investigate her conduct and led by former Tanzania Chief Justice Agostino Ramadhani unanimously recommended she be removed from office. Her successor Kalpana Rawal would soon take over, but not for long. She too was to be bungled out following an advisory by then Attorney General Githu Muigai on the retirement age of judges. This culminated in a notice issued by the Judicial Service Commission advising her, alongside her then colleague Justice Philip Tunoi, to leave office, a move analysts said then underlined high-voltage succession battles at the Apex Court. The two had moved to court to challenge their retirement without success. The office of the Deputy Chief Justice is a creation of Article 161 of the Constitution, and with the responsibility of deputizing the Chief Justice. The Deputy Chief Justice is also the Vice President of the Supreme Court. And with the arrest and prosecution of Mwilu in a court of law, focus will also be on the Judicial Service Commission, the body responsible with investigating the conduct of judicial officers and on which the fate of Mwilu lies on the way forward. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Well, Philomena Mwilu will have her day in court tomorrow, Wednesday, and then again she will be in a position to know whether she will begin defending her position when and as soon as possible. So if the legal system finds that she is culpable to stand trial, then probably there is a process which the Judicial Service Commission is expected to begin to ensure that she steps down as the Deputy Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya and then begin trial as a normal citizen of this country and to be able to fight those charges before her. So our very own Trevor Ombija is in studio and he will be taking us through step by step how it will be in terms of removing a sitting judge from office. So Trevor, maybe you can just take us through how it's going to be in terms of the legal process of having her being removed in court if she's found culpable of those legal actions that are before her in court.
Leila, there are really just about two options that the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu now has: either conviction or an acquittal. But things will only get a bit complex if there's a petition lodged to have her removed as a judge from office. That will have to be done through Article 168 of the Constitution, which outlines really the process of removing a judge. But before we get into that, there has to be grounds first. Let me show you through the grounds that have to be put there before you remove a judge from office. The first one is inability to perform office functions. This could be out of mental issues or even maybe incapacity. But the second one is also breach of code of conduct. The third one is bankruptcy. That's another reason. Incompetence or gross misconduct or even misbehavior is another reason. But even then, there's a whole process of how to remove a judge from there. The allegations first have to be made to the Judicial Service Commission in writing. Those allegations made to the JSC can also act on its own motion though, but the petition sets out the grounds for removal of the judge, and then the JSC will consider that same petition, and if it is satisfied that the petition raises a ground for removal of the said judge, then it will be sent to the president. From there, there's a whole list as well. The president shall then suspend the judge within 14 days after receiving that petition from the JSC and form a tribunal consisting of a chairperson and 3 other members from among other persons who hold or have held offices as judges at the Superior Court. The tribunal will inquire into the matter and report on facts only and make binding recommendations to the president. A judge aggrieved by the tribunal's decision may appeal to the Supreme Court within 10 days. The president then will act on the tribunal recommendations based on what they said without going beyond that. So whichever way this plays out, the DCJ may face a criminal charges. She's actually facing criminal charges as we speak. So according to the precedents that have been set, it's highly likely that the existence of that court case itself could trigger the process envisioned for the removal of a judge. Olive and Dennis.
Thank you, Trevor. There is, of course, the possibility that she could resign. The Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji, says his office will wage an unrelenting and ruthless war on corruption. In announcing his decision to charge the Deputy Chief Justice, he emphasized the need for those in public service to submit themselves to the constitutional precepts of integrity, demonstrate good judgment, and lead by example.
The DPP says the country was being torn apart by people who abused the trust bestowed upon them by the public. Listen.
The message that the President, the Chief Justice and other leaders have been sending is that this chaotic system needs to come to an end for the sake of our people. In Nairobi, the NYS cases will come up for hearing between October and January next year. 2 of the Kenya Power cases will be heard in October. The KEBS and soon the National Cereals and Produce Board and the National Land Commission cases are in the pre-trial stage. In keeping with our constitution mandate, the ODPP must and will wage an aggressive effort against all forms of corruption.
While staying with the matters of corruption, the National Council of Churches of Kenya has proposed a 1-year amnesty for corrupt individuals to declare and surrender all illegally acquired funds.
Those who failed to take up the offer, the church said, should be jailed for life and the funds they acquired corruptly be recovered from them.
NCCK General Secretary Peter Karanja spoke during the 63rd National Council of Churches of Kenya General Assembly in Kikambala, Kilifi County, where Deputy President William Ruto was the chief guest.
The wisdom, Your Excellency, of the NCCK Executive Committee meeting includes the possibility of offering amnesty for past corruption to provide a critical incentive for beneficiaries of corruption to repent and turn their lives around, speed up justice for Kenyans who have suffered immensely on account of corruption, while enabling us to clean up our pasts as a nation.
NTV Tonight takes a short break. We'll be right back.
We regret to announce our resignation.
If you are a former commissioner, you have cleared with the commission and you walk back saying, I want to sit here.
Welcome back, and remember you can watch us live on ntv.co.ke/live.
Yes.
Police this morning arrested Garissa Governor Ali Korane over the attempted murder of former county executive member for finance Idris Mukhtar, who is currently in critical condition.
The governor was picked up by flying squad officers at his Nairobi home and taken to Kilimani police station before being transferred to the regional police headquarters in Nairobi area for questioning.
He was detained for more than 8 hours and later released after recording a statement.
2 other suspects believed to be the hired assassins have also been arrested.
Detectives believe the two will provide crucial information on the circumstances around the shooting.
Idris was shot in the head at close range by unknown men who escaped soon after.
The governor's file has been forwarded to the Director of Public Prosecutions for direction. The National Assembly Justice and Legal Affairs Committee is divided on whether the IEBC commissioners who purportedly resigned 5 months ago should assume office.
The chairperson, William Cheptumo, says they should be given an opportunity to prosecute their case before the committee, while other members argue they have no moral standing to seek their jobs back.
NTV's parliamentary reporter Kennedy Mureithi spoke to the members of the committee.
The attempted return of IEBC commissioners who publicly resigned 5 months ago continues to elicit mixed reactions, with the committee wading into the matter. Opinion is divided within the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and members plan to deliberate on the issue conclusively this coming Thursday. The leadership of the committee feels the three, Consolata Nkatha, Margaret Mwachanya and Paul Kurgat, should be accorded audience and at least tell the world why they left the group and now want to come back.
Certain questions should be answered. Was there resignation by the three commissioners? If the answer is yes, was it formal? And if the answer is yes, was it addressed and received by the head of state as required? If the answer is yes, then did the president declare the vacancy for those positions?
They cannot tell us that, you see, now the president has not made it public that they wrote to him. I mean, are you trying to justify the president's inaction?
The resignation of an employee does not depend on the actions the appointing authority takes subsequently. So that is utter nonsense.
At the Thursday meeting, besides meeting the three serving IEBC commissioners, the committee is also expected to discuss the divisive matter that is the return of the commissioners and whether they should appear before them to explain their supposed return.
I mean, they should not appear at all. Yeah, I think some of us will not participate we may not participate if they appeared. Why should they appear?
They come to the committee. If I'm there, I'll chase them away. I cannot meet strangers.
IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati has expressed his reservations on the return, arguing that they publicly called it quits. He has even gone ahead to change the locks to their offices to deny them entry.
IEBC does not have offices for former commissioners.
Chairman has been holding fort. I think he should not be seen to be the sergeant at arms or to be seen to be exercising some mandate that may not sit neatly with his very serious senior mandate of the chairman.
The legal interpretation of the word resignation may as well have given the four commissioners who resigned a lifeline. According to the law, there is a process that needs to be followed that culminates in the president declaring a vacancy. So far, he has not done so. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV at Parliament Buildings.
Just a reminder that the Kandara MP Alice Wahome, who you've seen in that story there, and the MP Peter Kaluma will be joining Ken Mijungu on sidebar.
Well, let's move on now. Now, Kenya leader Martha Karua says the unregulated use of money in political campaigns has had a negative effect on the country's democracy and system of governance.
At the same time, Third Way Alliance leader Dr. Ekuro Okot says the commercialization of politics has corrupted the electorate, leading to failed political promises.
The management of elections.
At a conference to discuss the cost of democracy, stakeholders narrowed down on the heavy burden that the current constitution has had on the taxpayer. Na Kenya leader Martha Karua says flashy campaign spending has also corrupted the country's democratic space.
Those who want to control government will donate to candidates who are likely to win and to political parties. And then they can be able to control you when you are in government.
Thanks to the handout culture of the electorate, elections and therefore democracy have since become a commercial transaction. That also explains why elected leaders sometimes disappear from their constituencies until those close to the next election cycle.
Ekuru Okot has criticized the Independent Electoral Commission IEBC for a lack of capacity to enforce laws meant to regulate campaign financing in the country.
No wonder that elections are mostly won by the wealthy and those who have access to public funds. Money in our election has corrupted the voters to the extent that they revere those who come with big money.
We need to redefine politics in this country. You do not have to be married to run for a seat. You do not have to be a thief, because there are many people we know in this country, they are thieves. From the national government they stole, and now they're in the county governments. We are not going to allow thieves to run this country.
Leaders emphasized the need for the national government to finance political parties to protect them from the adverse effects of extravagant campaign spending. The fundamental question is whether the electorates will be able to go beyond being mesmerized by the candidates' marketing gimmicks and focus on their manifestos and thereafter hold them accountable to their promises. Vincent Oduor, NTV, Nairobi.
We take a short break, but on the other end of the break, we tell you how much more in Matatu fare you'll be paying.
All they are required to do.
There is a tweet going around about some officers in our groups. Instead of using the M-Pesa, they are asking the convicts to pay cash.
Most public figures associated with current corruption scandals are elected officials.
And I will say to Ipsos, shame on you.
Wakimalizana na kuandika headline na opinion poll ya bure, tukutane kwa wananchi.
Let these people who are stealing from public resources must be brought to book.
This is where the real conversation happens.
Good evening and welcome to NTV Business. I'm Dan Mwangi. The National Assembly's Finance and Planning Committee has proposed amendments to the Finance Bill of 2018 in order to change the status of maize flour, cassava flour and wheat flour from exempt to zero rated. If the House adopts the amendments, then it means that the cost of flour on the shelves will drop, since the changes will allow millers to reclaim tax charged on the raw materials used to manufacture the unga. In last year's budget, Treasury CS Henry Rotich had zero-rated bread and maize flour, a move that was intended to tame the high prices at the time. But those benefits didn't last long, that is, as the Tax Law Amendment Act of 2018 changed them back from zero-rated to exempt. The proposal to lower the millers' tax burden comes at a time when the price of unga has dropped to a 6-year low, with most brands selling a 2-kilogram packet at below 90 shillings. Regional Infrastructure Development firm TransCentury has narrowed its net loss for the first half of this year by 34% to 684 million shillings, thanks to cost-cutting measures employed by the firm in the recent past. The firm's unaudited results for the period ending June 2018 indicate that operating expenses dropped from 2.5 billion shillings to 1.6 billion shillings, largely attributed to its decision to retrench 276 employees last year. Meanwhile, Diamond Trust Bank's net profit for the half-year period to June has marginally increased from 3.4 billion shillings to 3.8 billion shillings. Earnings per share increased by 51 cents to 12 shillings and 51 cents, but the bank will, however, not pay any interim dividend as part of a practice the board of directors adopted recently. Concern has been raised over the small number of male students taking up human resource courses as compared to females. Close to 80% of those who sat for the June 2018 Certified Human Resource Professional exams were female, pointing to a skew that is unhealthy for the profession. The matter came up during the release of the third CHRP exams.
We have got, of the 667 candidates, we have the female are 524. While the male are 143. The boy child is not well represented here. The percentage is very high as far as the females are concerned. The difference is high.
Male-female ratios, I don't know whether all the others are worried about that, like I am. From a policy perspective, it's something we need to really sit back and look at. Is it that HRM is a ladies' profession, or is it that our male colleagues are not concerned about their growth? These are questions we need to answer.
Man, oh man. If you use public transport to get around, you will pay 10 shillings more for your fare beginning 1st of September as a 16% value-added tax on petroleum products takes effect. This is according to the Matatu Owners Association, which says the new tax will push up operational costs and that they have no choice but to pass on the added cost to you. Meanwhile, 6 drivers were arrested along the Garissa Thika Road in an early morning crackdown in Thika Sub-County after they were found operating unroadworthy vehicles.
From 1st of September, short-distance commuters within Nairobi will spend 10 shillings more on top of their daily bus fare budget if the 16% VAT on petroleum products takes effect. Chairman of the Matatu Owners Association, Simon Kimutai, says passing on the added cost to the commuter is the only way to remain in business. However, for long-distance travelers, the increment on the cost of travel will be dependent on the distance covered during the journey.
The minimum fare would be 30 shillings in Nairobi. If you take a bus and at light at any point, be it 2 meters, be it 3 meters, be it 10 meters, be it 100 meters, be it a kilometer or something or so, it will be minimum is 30 shillings.
While the Matatu Owners Association was bringing the public up to speed on the new developments in the transport sector, 6 Matatu drivers were headed to the courts after being caught flouting traffic rules in a crackdown along the Garissa Thika Road in Thika Sub-County. Area OCPD Willie Simba, who spearheaded the crackdown, said that the 6 vehicles seized had various traffic offenses, including using wrong tires and ineffective speed governors.
Bodaboda wahakikishe wanavaa reflective jacket, wawe na helmet, wawe na insurance, na wawe na driving license. Hiyo pia ni warning kwa bodaboda.
He also added that today's operation is just the beginning of a long-term operation aimed at restoring sanity on Kenyan roads. Achieng Wimbley, NTV.
To some international business news now, and Toyota is expanding its partnership with Uber in the development of self-autonomous vehicles. The Japanese car manufacturer will engage in mass production of self-driving vehicles that will be used on the Uber platform. It will also invest $500 million towards making the dream of autonomous vehicles a reality. And currently, Alphabet's Waymo is leading in the development of the driverless cars. Uber scaled back self-driving trials in March after a fatality in the US. Pilot trials for the partnership with Toyota are set to begin in 2021. You know, in a country where we have people being mugged in their cars or carjacked, I wonder how those driverless cars will operate. Do they have security in them? Will they have people who will jump out of the trench? We know police jump out of trenches sometimes in Kenya. I don't know if we'll have those to ensure that they do not get carjacked with no driver. Business and I are done. Good night.
Welcome back. Further afield, British Prime Minister Theresa May pledged to prioritize investment in Africa as she started a three-nation visit to Africa to drum up trade deals ahead of leaving the European Union.
Meanwhile, the International Criminal Court had the closing arguments in the case of former Congolese warlord Bosco Ntaganda, nicknamed the Terminator.
British Prime Minister Theresa May is in Africa to drum up trade deals ahead.
Bosco Ntaganda. We take, yes.
Sorry, Ntaganda actually literally means a person who's so full of love, full of emotions, and full of harmony and balance. And it's a serious contradiction to what he's doing.
Yes, the irony.
Yeah.
Well, we take a short break now, but coming up, it's Watson Karuma with the sports.
Welcome to NTV Sport. I'm Watson Karuma. Now, Kenya will not host the 2018 CECAFA Senior Challenge Cup in December, and its quest to be alternative host for the 2018 Women's Africa Cup of Nations has been rejected by CAF. All these are indicators that Kenyan football is seemingly going through a rough patch, as lack of fans, lack of stadia, and lack of goodwill between football stakeholders takes a toll. Sean Katovilis reports.
Midway through his tenure, and Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwendwa is still struggling to right the ship and navigate Kenyan football in the right direction. Limited funds have seen FKF opt not to host the 2018 CECAFA Senior Challenge Cup.
All these cases have nothing to do with this new administration. These are cases that we inherited from the previous administration. We continue to fight it out and discuss with government on how we can solve this.
Additionally, Kenya's bid to be the alternative host for the Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2018 fell through due to Kenya not satisfying the two stadia needed criteria. Only Kasarani is fit to host international matches. This comes in the wake of damage witnessed at Kasarani during the Mashemeji derby. Incidentally, the KPL Independent Disciplinary Committee will hear the case against AFC Leopards on Friday.
I sit there today and wonder, what is the hard work for? We want our fans in the stadium, but do we want them to come and do that? What for? Stay at home. Stay at home.
On to matters on the pitch, and the Federation is focused on ensuring that Harambee Stars have all they need ahead of the crucial AFCON 2019 qualifier against Ghana next week on Saturday. The team under coach Sebastian Minye will start reporting to camp this Saturday.
We cannot say that we are stronger than Ghana, but we are positive that we can get a result out of the game. And from there we can see how that goes. So that is how we are going to prepare for the Cup of Nations, so that we can try and see if we can get a point or 3 points, get something out of this.
Meanwhile, a 5-day CAF Technical Directors course is ongoing in Nairobi. The workshop has brought together 14 English-speaking member associations with the aim of discussing their roles and mandates in football development. So with a massive assignment for Harambee Stars against Ghana coming up and issues to do with the hosting of the Mashemeji derby, there is a lot to ponder for the FKF. Sean Carter-Villas, NTV at the FKF Goal Project offices.
Now, Kenyan Premier League action resumes Wednesday afternoon with 5 matches lined up, including a double-header at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos as the relegation dogfight picks up. Bottom of the table, Thika United will take on Kariobangi Sharks, seeking to save themselves from imminent drop to the National Super League. Immediately thereafter, Wazito, who lies second from the bottom, will face an AFC Leopards side looking to bounce back from its Mashemeji derby loss. At the Ruaraka Stadium, 4th place Tusker will play Chemelil Sugar, who are third from bottom. Posta Rangers face Sofapaka at Camp Toyoyo, while Ulinzi Stars host Nakumat at Afraha. Now, of course, there'll be plenty more football action because the Kenyan Premier League champions are away in Algeria. We'll be taking on USM Algiers in that CAF Confederations Cup fixture, the final in that group. We wish the Kenyan champions all the best. Now, Kenya's reputation as athletics powerhouse is currently taking huge blows as the scourge of doping continues to cast a big shadow. 5 athletes have been outed as having tested positive for banned substances in the last month. This is former 3-time World 1500 meters champion Asbel Kiprop battles with the demons of having been outed as a dope cheat, with pundits worried about his mental health. Today saw over 100 athletes in Kericho County converge under the Athletics Kenya Kericho branch to deliberate on the issue. Among those who offered advice was the first Kenyan athlete to win an Olympic gold medal, Wilson Kiprugut Chumo.
Tumesema tu avoid dawa na tukimbie tukiwa wasafi. Na mtu ukiwin unajua nimewin nikiwa msafi.
Defending champions Egypt and Cameroon have won their second matches at the ongoing Women's Africa Under-20 Volleyball Championship at Kasarani. Cameroon, who defeated Nigeria 3-1 in their opener, thrashed Tanzania 3-0 of 25-16, 25-14 and 25-20. Meanwhile, Egypt, who defeated Uganda in their opener, this evening saw off Rwanda 3-1 of 25-14, 16-25, 25-16 and 25-22. The junior Malkia strikers, who started their campaign with a straight sets win over Tanzania, will take on Nigeria tomorrow at 4 p.m. Rwanda face Uganda and Mauritius tackle Egypt in the other fixtures. Twenty countries have so far confirmed their participation in this year's Mombasa Open Tong Il Mudu International Martial Arts Championship, scheduled to kick off on Sunday. According to the Kenya Tong Il Mudu Federation Chairman Clarence Mwakio, the tournament is open to other martial arts sports. The entire event shall last for 12 days, during which participants will go through training from international masters and grandmasters of different martial arts styles, taking part in several voluntary community service projects in Mombasa, as well as visit historical sites and tourist destinations.
The tournament is expected to be highly competitive, but as I've heard from the national team coach of Kenya, the Tong Il Mudu national team is well prepared for the tournament, and we are looking forward to better performance.
Now, Olympic sprint champion Usain Bolt expects an onset of nerves when he makes his debut for Australia's Central Coast Mariners against an amateur side on Friday. Mariners coach Mike Mulvey confirmed the 8-time Olympic gold medalist would play Hotspur, and that was followed by another Mourinho rant in the post-match press conference. And of course, there were plenty more football matches played last night, but again, the football-led Manchester United desk decided that that story does not make it tonight. We had those goals throughout the day, and that's it from me, from the sports desk. Have a lovely night.
That was Watson Karuma with the sports news. Back to our top story of the day, which is the arrest and arraignment of the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu. Want to look at some of your reactions to that story. We have Shiro, who says these are daunting times. The bribery allegations sally organs such as the judiciary, and she's called on the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nuruddin Haji, to escalate the war on graft.
Brian O'Dell says it is my absolute wish that the DPP Nuruddin Haji has substantial evidence against the Deputy Chief Justice. It will be a grave mistake if all of this turns out to be a politicized affair or extremely motivated political affair. Another one here says, this is Amina Ahmed, who says DPP's Nuruddin Haji's statement after the arrest of Philomena Mwilu, written with impressive decorum. Contents of the letter is very revealing of the spirit behind the DPP's actions. Reads like over-explaining, justifying the arrest, obviously. is we shall revisit. The cloud is hanging over all this, so we wait for all this tomorrow, right?
Yes, and David Ondari will end with you. He asks, what is the law as regards to prosecution while in office of judges?
Well, someone else here, IK Kenneth, says DP Nurdin Haji and George Kinoti were in a hurry to embarrass Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu. Even if they had a watertight case against the Honorable Judge, why leak it to the media 2 days before the arrest? Well, these are just some of the comments and reactions after that arrest. But remember, tomorrow we're going to be having a special coverage on the same. You want to keep it here on NTV. From morning, NTV today will have back-to-back coverage of what will be happening at the court. It's going to be busy tomorrow, and you'll be following us live again, www.ntvkenya.co.ae/live.
Actually, it's ntv.co.ke. Yes,
okay.
ntv.co.ke, but NTV Kenya on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on YouTube. And keep sharing your comments. We'll sample them in the course of the day.
Kenny Jung is coming up next with Sidebar. You don't want to miss this. The discussions obviously range from what has been happening over the week in politics and today's events in particular. My name is Dennis Okari.
And I'm Olive Burrows, and a sign language interpreter is Flora Tieno.
Good night.